Hey everyone, RemanX here, and I want to kind of talk about something I did. It's kind of an experiment when I left my alliance. The group of guys over at Sigma Black fell apart. Not really fell apart, but we decided to move on as there were some differing opinions on how to progress through the alliance. And while I was invited to kind of move on, I decided to go and just sit and find out what happened when you were kicked from your alliance and what happened with the default alliance. Now, I was lucky enough to join an amazing group of guys at the Negasonic Middle Age team that were actually in Platinum 3 and progressing in Doom 2 at the time. And so one of the things we learned was realistically, we kind of dug into really what the problem was in Marvel Strike Force, what is missing when you're not watching content creation or you're not using some of the tools that have been created elsewhere. And these are the real quality of life changes that have to happen to really impact the game. And we're going to start with something really, really important. One thing about these raids, guys, is there's not an easy way inside the game to assign the positioning for maps where players know where to go when they're about to do their raid. And one thing is, with the way that the raids are designed, they can be complicated in that, sometimes people miss a node not knowing that it's on their lane. We see this most often when the Greek raid alpha shows up for the first time. And sometimes we find it in maybe possibly in Gamma, where somebody skips a node because they didn't know who it was assigned to. And it becomes quite difficult to complete. And so imagine doing 98.72% and failing because of the fact that somebody skipped a node early on because there wasn't the tools inside the game. Now, we're not talking about a 1 or 2 year old game that's going through growing pains. We're talking about a 5-year-old game where some of the quality of life changes that have been proposed aren't as impactful as something like this, where hopefully that transition to the MarvelStrikeForce.com and the merge of MSF.gg will allow leaders the ability to kind of it's about that time. Allow leaders to get the tools they need to perform their functions. Now, it's even more daunting considering the fact that I was plucked from the random pool of people looking for alliances. So when I joined that alliance, they had just lost a long-term member of the alliance who had become, the game had become just too daunting at the time to play. And so I backfilled into that role without them recruiting, because there really isn't a recruiting tool inside the game. There's no way, if you join that alliance from the random position, to really communicate beyond what's inside of the alliance chat. So these emotes are garbage considering the other tools that need to be developed to communicate with your other players to get things done as a 24 person unit. And I think that's the big problem. So when we're looking at the idea of what needs to change, the fact that, like I said, with the raids and in war, the war benefits, now you can at least mark a room, but you can't, like I can't go say Theezy, go attack a free-to-play target like Pop, because your roster makes it so you can actually attack that team, or hold this for the Krakens and the Armory. The tools just aren't there to communicate very well. More importantly, if you're actually in the character select screen trying to build your team, you can't type in the chat. It's completely disabled. So all of these things are functionally, the game doesn't allow you to do the things that you need to do to work as a 24 person unit. And what's drastically bad about all of this is the amount of frustration. Now, we're going to talk about something even worse. So the problem comes down to all of these things, raids and war and all these attacks and Crucible, which is mostly one-on-one, are all part of these stupid monthly milestones. So the problem we had was the milestones, especially from a perspective of coordinated assault, things you have to do with your alliance, they're not well communicated in the way that they, what performance and, like what your goal is per day. I can't go go spend 800. Here's your target goal. Here's 800 to spend a day, and have easy tracking. So all of these things are diminishing their engagement in this game. Players are, and I'm saying this because you can definitely feel it, players are tired of jumping through these hoops. And it's worse. Because if you spent all the time and effort to spend daily cores and energy on these offers, 300 a day or more to get to this mile, actually it was what, something like, I think it was like 650 a day. If you wanted to finish off the Night of the Spider, you wound up 5 short of a 4-star. If you did all the milestones, you wound up 5 short. But guess when you wouldn't have been 5 short is when that offer popped up on Friday to give you 5 extra shards. So it's on purpose, guys. They're dangling these things in front of us. I have a 4-star as a free-to-play player because I identified early that I didn't want to jump through the hoops. And I just simply used the cores. I think it was a total of, I want to say 4 orbs. And I used the 4 orbs, covered more, less than I would have spent throughout the event. And got them at a 4-star. And didn't have to worry about the constant daily grind of energy. So again, these milestones, what's worse about it, guys, is sometimes people are missing the actual piece inside there, and then they go to the monthly and they're not even getting the character. These key characters are being missed with no plans to release them relatively soon. They're tripling down on FOMO in Marvel Strike Force. Now with Zombie Iron Man showing up here with a lot of questions, but I'm going to have some guidance, guys, some specific RemanX guidance you don't want to miss on Zombie Iron Man when it comes out, because I think we got a better solution for everybody to get more stars and not have to panic. We'll have to see if they've already designed the event around it. We're not going to reveal too much information because we don't want them to get any smart ideas and try to counter what we're planning here. So the day this goes live, make sure you guys tune in because we're going to go through that. A lot of the quality of life, people point fingers and say these are quality of life changes for such and such a player or such and such an idea. Quality of life should be almost all encompassing. Otherwise, it's not worth the effort. It should try to accommodate as many people. In Marvel Strike Force, the hardest thing to do is lead or captain an alliance. It is literally the most unrewarding job you can have. The only reason why you would do it is for your own personal ego or because of the fact that nobody else will step up. And between those two things, the tools that were inside the game to actually help you, then it would be a different story, and a lot of my friends wouldn't have left Marvel Strike Force. I am saying this with the passion of somebody who loves this game. Get your head out of your ass and fix the real quality of life that is alliances that we've been crying about for almost 5 years. It has to happen. It was missing from the roadmap, and it absolutely has to be something that's implemented when you work with MSF.GG or you failed us. Because at the 5-year mark, if I can't coordinate with my alliance, give them a raid map and interact with them in a way that makes sense, that we don't miss nodes periodically in alpha, my alliance doesn't suck. The tools that we have suck. And that's the end of that rant as we go forward. But again, I'm going to say that I was privileged enough to play with players from a wide variety of perspectives. I got a new, unique insight on war, and we're going to revisit that and go over what I think priorities should be for war, because it was definitely interesting. We're going to revisit some of the teams as far as what to utilize in war offense and war defense if you're in Plat 2 and Plat 3, trying to make that diamond push versus just getting started, and which teams to build. And all of these things come down to the fact that there is realistically no time frame from when a character is released to when it becomes widely available anymore. We can't say it's a 6th or 7th or 8th month before we see them available. We're at the year mark, and now Icarus and Cersei going to premium orbs are probably one of the worst decisions I thought about it. I'm glad Cersei's being moved out. I think that's smart, but what I'm telling you is to reserve characters like that for so long feels bad for the general populace when they're being utilized in so many different ways. So they're doubling down on that with Zombie Iron Man, feeling like he's going to be a significant part of war offense for a long time to come, being able to build kind of that perfect storm of theorycraft, and the two-piece puzzle with him and Hela look to be pretty much dynamic and have a really good feel to them. So they gave me a long list of other quality of life improvements. I'm going to send a lot of that up, but it comes down to the fact that from recruiting to managing the tools for raids, wars, and even goals that happen periodically, the tools just aren't there inside the game to communicate it. And the content creation doesn't reach deep enough into the community to really have that impact. And so that's the problem with this game, is unfortunately the tools that help people, guide people through these things to help coordinate and build alliances and structures that are built to last aren't there. So those are the only quality of life things that really matter.